You wake up tired, not the kind that sleep fixes, the kind that lives in your bones. You've been tired for months now, maybe longer. But you still get up, you make the coffee, answer the emails, show up where you're supposed to. You smile on cue, you function like a machine, but inside there's nothing. Just static. Just the hum of something running that forgot why it started. You are running on fumes. And the strangest part? You can't stop. Every part of you screams to rest. Your body begs you to break. But you keep going anyway, not because you want to. Because stopping feels more dangerous than the exhaustion. If that's you, you're not broken. You're not weak. You're responding to something deep. Something psychology has studied for decades. Something that lives between survival and actually living. Today we're going to pull it apart. Slowly. Carefully. Because you deserve to understand why you feel this way. Why you keep moving when there's nothing left. If you've ever felt like you're running on empty but can't stop, subscribe. This channel is for people who feel exhausted but keep going, who feel numb but still show up, or who forgot what rest even feels like. Let's step into the mind beneath the survival. You're sitting at your desk. Someone is talking to you. You nod, you respond with the right words. But you're not actually there, not really. It's like you're watching yourself from behind glass. You see your hands typing. You hear your voice answering. But it doesn't feel like yours. This isn't apathy. This isn't you being cold on purpose. This is what psychology calls emotional blunting. It's when your nervous system decides that feeling anything costs too much. So it shuts down the whole operation. Think of it like a circuit breaker. When too much electricity runs through a house, the breaker flips. It prevents a fire. Your brain does the exact same thing. When too much stress runs through you for too long, your emotional system flips the switch. Not to punish you, to protect you, because feeling everything at once would destroy you. So instead, you feel nothing. And here's the cruel part. You keep functioning anyway. You keep working, keep showing up, keep performing. Because the system that lets you feel is separate from the system that makes you move. You can be empty and efficient at the same time. That's what makes this so dangerous. No one sees it. Not your boss, not your family, not even you sometimes. You look fine from the outside. You sound fine. But inside, you're disappearing. Piece by piece. And the world keeps asking you for more. But here's what you need to know. You're still alive under all that numbness. You're still here. And that matters more than you think. Because what comes next explains why you're stuck in this loop. Here's the part that cuts deep. You're not moving because you're motivated. You're moving because you're terrified of what happens if you stop. There's a concept in psychology called learned helplessness. It was discovered in the 1960s by Martin Seligman. Researchers were studying humans and how we respond to situations we can't control. They placed college students in rooms with loud, irritating noise. One group had a button that stopped the noise when pressed. The other group had a button that did nothing. No matter how many times they pressed it, the noise continued. At first, both groups kept pressing their buttons, trying everything to make it stop. But then something happened. The group with the broken button started giving up. They stopped trying. They just sat there, enduring the noise. Then researchers did something crucial. They gave that same group a button that actually worked. A real way to stop the noise. But here's what happened. Most of them didn't even try. They just sat there, taking the noise. Because they had learned that nothing they did mattered. Now here's where it gets complicated. You are not those students in a lab. But you've learned something similar. You've learned that stopping equals punishment. That rest equals failure. that slowing down means everything falls apart. So you keep running, not toward a goal, but away from the collapse you've convinced yourself is inevitable. You've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your output, that love is earned through exhaustion, that safety only exists in motion. And the most twisted part? It worked for a while. When you were younger, pushing harder did get you praise, did earn you validation, did keep you safe from criticism. So your brain wired that in deep. Motion equals survival. Stopping equals danger. Even now, when your body is breaking, that wiring still runs the show. When was the last time you felt safe enough to stop? Not because you had to, but because you wanted to. Think about that. And if that question made your chest tighten, what I'm about to tell you will explain why your body has been trying to get your attention this whole time. This is where it gets heavy. You're alive. But you're not living, you're surviving, and you've been doing it for so long that you forgot there's a difference. Living means you have space to feel, space to want things, space to rest without guilt. Survival means you're just trying to make it to tomorrow. And for people who run on fumes, tomorrow is the only goal. Not happiness, not peace, just making it. There's a term for this in trauma psychology. It's called hypervigilance. It's when your nervous system stays in a constant state of alert, always scanning for danger, always preparing for the next threat, always ready to run, fight, or freeze. And when you live like that for long enough, your baseline shifts. Calm starts to feel uncomfortable. Rest starts to feel dangerous. Stopping starts to feel like you're doing something wrong. So you keep moving. Because motion feels safer than stillness, even when the motion is killing you. Think about it. When you finally have a day off, what happens? Do you relax? Or do you fill it with tasks? Do you rest? Or do you feel guilty the entire time? Do you enjoy the silence, or does it make you anxious? That's not laziness. That's not a lack of discipline. That's your nervous system telling you that rest is a luxury you haven't earned yet. And the cruelest part? You probably won't feel like you've earned it. Not after this project. Not after this promotion. Not after you've proven yourself one more time. Because the goalpost keeps moving. And you keep chasing it, running on fumes, hoping that one day you'll finally be allowed to stop. But there's something else keeping you trapped. Something even harder to admit. Let's talk about the role you've taken on. The dependable one. The strong one. The one who never complains, never says no, never breaks. People love you for it. They praise you for it. They rely on you for it. And somewhere along the way, that became your identity. You are the person who handles things, who keeps it together when everyone else falls apart, who sacrifices so others don't have to. And now you're trapped. Because if you stop, if you admit you're struggling, if you ask for help, who are you? This is what psychologists call role entrapment. It's when the identity you've built becomes a cage. You can't step out of it without feeling like you're letting everyone down. So you stay. You keep carrying the weight. Even when it's crushing you. Even when you're barely breathing under it, because the alternative feels impossible. Admitting you can't do it anymore feels like failure, feels like weakness, feels like you're proving that you were never as strong as they thought. But here's the truth. Strength isn't continuing when you have nothing left. Strength is knowing when to stop. Knowing when to say, I can't carry this anymore. Knowing when to let the weight fall. Even if it disappoints people, even if it changes how they see you. Because the person they see right now isn't even real. It's a performance. A mask you wear so well you forgot it was there. And underneath is someone who's been screaming for help in a voice no one can hear. What are you running from that you can't name? Sit with that question. And if you're wondering why your brain won't let you stop even when you're breaking, the biology behind this will make everything click. You've stopped listening to your body completely now, not on purpose, but because it's been screaming. It's been screaming for so long you turned down. This is what's called interoceptive dysfunction in psychology. It's a fancy term for a simple tragedy. You've lost the ability to feel what's inside. Your body sends signals like hunger and exhaustion. Signals like hunger, exhaustion, pain, and sadness constantly. But somewhere along the way, you learned to override. You learned that your needs come second or third. Your needs come third, last, always after everyone else. You learned other people's comfort matters more than yours. Other people's comfort matters more than your collapse entirely. So you stopped listening to your body's messages. You eat because it's time, not because you're hungry. You sleep because you have to, not feeling tired. You go through the motions like a background program. And the numbness is your body's last defense mechanism. It's protecting you from the pain of ignoring yourself. Because if you felt it all at once, if you felt the full weight of abandonment, the weight of how much you've abandoned yourself, it would be unbearable, so your brain mutes it. Your brain turns the volume down to 0. And you walk through life like a shadow. Here's what that looks like in real life. You're in a meeting, your chest feels tight. Your jaw is clenched, shoulders up near your ears. But you don't notice any of these signals. You push through and finish the presentation successfully. You get the approval and continue working forward. And later at home, you collapse from exhaustion, not because you chose to rest at all, but because your body forced a shutdown completely. A migraine, a stomach ache, or a wave of exhaustion. A wave of exhaustion so heavy you can't move. Your body is trying to stop you forcefully. But you've learned to see that as weakness. So you push through again and again repeatedly. And again until one day you realize nothing. You realize you don't feel anything anymore at all. Not joy, not sadness, not even anger anymore. Just a flat gray line where emotions existed. If you've ever wondered why rest feels impossible, stick with me. Because what happens when you confuse survival? When you confuse survival with living, changes everything completely. Let's get into the science for a moment. What you're experiencing isn't just psychological, it's biological. When you're under chronic stress, your body releases cortisol. In short bursts, cortisol helps you focus and respond. But when stress becomes constant without any break, cortisol stays elevated and things start breaking down. Your immune system weakens, sleep gets worse, memory fogs, and here's the kicker about high cortisol levels. It suppresses your prefrontal cortex, where you process emotions. That part of your brain goes quiet and offline, and that's why you feel numb all the time. At the same time, your amygdala takes over completely. The fear center, keeping you in survival mode constantly. It becomes hyperactive, constantly scanning for threats and disaster. Your brain decided stopping is the biggest threat. So it keeps you moving even when you're empty. There's another fear living beneath the exhaustion completely. You're afraid if you stop and finally rest, you'll never get back up from the exhaustion. That you'll lose your edge, your drive, your purpose. You're afraid that rest isn't a pause at all. It's an ending, a permanent shutdown of everything. But here's what no one tells you clearly. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity at all. Rest is what makes productivity possible in life. Because your body will make you stop eventually. And when that happens, it won't be rest. It'll be collapse. And collapse takes much longer. there's something else happening here beneath the surface. Grief for the person you used to be, the one who felt things and got excited, who laughed without forcing it, who had real energy, who had energy for the people they loved. That person feels like a stranger now completely, and you don't know how to get them back. This is what's called ambiguous loss in psychology. It's grief for something that isn't gone completely, but isn't fully present either, somewhere in between. You didn't lose yourself in one dramatic moment. You lost yourself slowly, in 1,000 compromises, standing in the wreckage of who you used to be, wondering if it's too late to get back. It's not, but you have to stop running first. What comes next is the hardest part of all. So what do you do when stopping feels impossible? First, you have to understand something very important. You won't stop because you suddenly feel ready. You'll stop because you decide to stop completely. Even when every part of you screams continue. You stop anyway, not forever, just a moment. When you stop and finally let yourself be still, everything you've been running from will catch up. The sadness, the anger, the fear, the exhaustion. And that's okay. That's not a bad sign. You have to let yourself feel it completely. Just feel it. Sit with it. Let it move. Here's what I need you to hear right now. You are not a machine built for endurance. You are not meant to run on empty. The world will not fall apart if you rest. Your worth is not measured by your endurance. You are allowed to stop and catch your breath. And that's not giving up on your life. That's waking up to what's really happening inside. Waking up to the fact you've been surviving. So if you're still here and recognize yourself, this is your sign to stop running now. Stop, not because you've earned it or deserve it, but because you're human and humans need rest. What would it feel like to stop running? You're not alone in this exhausting struggle anymore. You're allowed to rest. You're still alive under exhaustion. If this reached the part of you that's been silent, subscribe, because there's more of you worth finding. Share this with someone who's running on empty. You deserve to remember what it feels like to breathe.